Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show, discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and I just had to get on and talk about what the Dolphins have pulled off today. I dropped an episode earlier this morning, and the timing of this couldn't have been worse, but frankly, the move is so awesome that I don't give a damn. So that's why we had to jump on and do this surprise, a little emergency podcast for you this weekend. So the episode that came out this morning, like I talked about, was who the team would target at pick number 3. Well, that's no longer the case. The Dolphins made a blockbuster deal and then another one in their pursuit of maximizing value in return. So far, Chris Greer, it's looking damn good. Let's dive in.
They trade away the number 3 pick. Although they go down to number 12, they trade away number 12. Now they're back up to number 6. And after all of this today, they also have now added 2 first-round picks in 2022 and 1 first-round pick in 2023. Mike Tannenbaum, translate how great a day this is for the Fins.
Yeah, boy, they moved around quite a bit, but basically they went from 3 to 6 and net picked up an extra first-round pick, which is obviously a great job. That's a premium part of the draft, but to get an extra first-round pick to go net from the 3rd pick to the 6th, because it originally was 3 to 12, 12 back up to 6. So to me, that's really, that's good business by Miami.
So around 1 p.m. on Friday, Adam Schefter reported that a trade had been made between the Miami Dolphins and San Francisco 49ers. A trade which frankly shook up the landscape of the draft board. The Dolphins gave the Niners the 3rd overall pick, and in exchange, they received a 2022, so next season's 3rd-round pick from the Niners, which is a comp pick that the team's going to get for losing Robert Saleh to the Jets. And they also got the first-round picks for the Niners in 2022 and 2023. 2 firsts, a 3rd, as well as 12th overall for them to acquire 3rd. So the move made total sense for both parties. And frankly, it was probably better for San Fran, considering that they already have a really good team. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl like 2 years ago. And the picks Miami would receive definitely would be in the bottom half of the league. You know, again, they picked 12th this year, and they had nobody on their team. I mean, we played them at the height of those injuries. We saw how depleted they looked, and yet they still only pick in 12th. So getting everyone back healthy and potentially a franchise guy at quarterback, don't expect them to be picking in the top half. So in exchange for those 2 picks, they would get to move into that top 5 and potentially get that franchise-changing quarterback that we're talking about. So the Dolphins decided to make that move. They go back, they gain a bunch of capital, and then they themselves can continue to build their team. So that happened, and it felt like the Dolphins were good for the day. Like, hey, this move makes sense. Obviously, the more we think about it and digest it, some people were starting to turn on it in the 20 minutes that we had the information. Because, again, like I said, the Niners are a good team. So if those picks are in the 20s, then frankly, what really is the value? Because the 3rd overall pick is so much better than having 12, 27, and 26. 3 first-round picks are good. But if that 3rd overall guy is a game changer for you, he's kind of a blue chip, stud, even as a pass rusher, not even a quarterback or an offensive lineman or even a skill player, maybe that's more valuable than getting, 3 solid starters. But again, I don't know exactly what the Dolphins' mindset was here. But again, that's what some people were thinking. Based on what the Dolphins operate, though, I don't think they agree with that mindset. As much as I would rather have the 3rd overall pick versus having multiple picks in the 20s, based on how the Dolphins have operated in terms of acquiring volume, I think they would have taken that deal and were happy with it. But there was clearly more to the plan, because next, the Dolphins made another move. They jumped back into the top 10 by making a deal with the Eagles. They jumped from their fresh new position of 12th overall to 6th, swapping with Howie Roseman and Philly. And to do this, the Dolphins swapped 4th-round picks this year. So Miami goes from 123rd to 156, Philly gets 123rd, and then the Dolphins also gave up their own first-round pick next season. So not the first-rounder they acquired from the Niners, but the first-round pick of their own, which, hey, that's a little cocky. We're going to be better than the Niners. So, hey, yeah, take this one. Goddamn, though, that's a lot of moves and a lot of picks just being thrown around. At the end of the day, though, what really happened here? A lot of things, we heard a lot of transactions were made, a lot of swapping happened, but really, what happened? What was the point of all this board movement for the teams involved? Well, for the Niners, as we said, they have a talented young roster, a really good young coach, and a belief in their system and structure from up top. They almost walked away with the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago, but were held back by poor quarterback play from Jimmy Garoppolo. Wow, what is it about like Patriots people telling me that a quarterback was going to be elite before it's actually true? I don't know what it is. You got Jimmy, you got Jarrett Stidham. I thought Cam Newton was going to be good. They're telling me again Cam Newton's going to be good. I don't know what to believe. I guess the Niners were kind of fed up with Jimmy. So now they can go get a guy who actually fits his system like a glove, Shanahan's. And if the guy that they take hits, let's say Trey Lance, for example, at 3 overall, then giving up 2 first-rounders is a drop in the bucket to get your quarterback. For the Eagles, word was that they were also competing with the Niners to move up to number 3 overall with the Dolphins. However, they just did not have the assets to compete. They didn't. I mean, that deal that we got from the 49ers was something that the Eagles just couldn't put together or couldn't match with, considering that in their eyes, it was a smaller jump. It was half the jump. And they weren't willing to cough up a first-round pick just to go up a few spots, based on what I'm hearing. And that I totally agree with. Why would you give up a first-round pick unless you were going to be able to get the guy? Now, rumors and reports were if Miami, say, had the second and had Zach Wilson available to them, then I believe Miami could have gotten, a first or second-round pick from the Eagles themselves because that's who they wanted. But the fact that they couldn't do that kind of indicates the Jets are going with Zach Wilson, as we all kind of think. But anyway, the Eagles felt, hey, look, we're not going to be able to match up with San Francisco here. Maybe we should just stick with our guy that we took in the second round, Jalen Hurts, and figure out where we're going to go moving forward. So they decided the best steps for them were to try to acquire assets, follow the Dolphins approach. So now they move back to 12, and they're going to be able to land a similar caliber player to help build their roster. Look, 6 to 12 is not as big of a jump, in my opinion, as top 3 to 6. So you can still find a really good guy in that realm. And they can get a valuable first going forward, too. So not only do they still get a good player at 12, now you've added a first-round pick next year. And remember, if Carson Wentz leads the Colts to the playoffs, which is a very real possibility, if you ask me personally, I think they're going to win that division. But that conditional second-round pick that was a part of the deal from Indy, that conditional pick becomes a first if he's able to lead them to the playoffs. So that means the Eagles, literally a year from now, could be looking at 3 first-round picks. And now you're talking rebuild. Now, to be fair, of those 3, it's going to be the Dolphins and the Colts. The only way they get the Colts is if they're a playoff team, so that's going to be in the 20s. And, hey, the Dolphins will probably be, 31-32 if I had to guess. But, hey, it's interesting that we're seeing other teams starting to model their rebuilds after the Dolphins. Hey, get a lot of assets. Gives you flexibility, and then find your quarterback and move on from there. But let's turn to what we really care about, the Dolphins. What was this move all about? Like, I understand it makes sense in terms of assets, but let's kind of dive into the meanings behind it, or at least try to glean some meanings. The move obviously is a no-brainer. Think about it. San Fran just moved up to take a quarterback, so we don't know what the Falcons are going to do at that position either, 4th overall. They themselves could be looking to trade out, so they might want to leave and let a team who also is quarterback hungry jump into their spot. So if that happens, or the Falcons themselves take a quarterback, the Dolphins very well could end up getting the exact same player that they planned on taking at pick 3. Now they get their guy at 6, who they could have gotten at 3, an additional first, which is going to be great to have for flexibility down the line. And yes, the Bengals will still be picking ahead of Miami, which is frustrating. They have the 5th pick, and both Dolphins and Bengals are kind of trying to build around their young quarterbacks. For my money, though, I just don't see how the Bengals don't either go between Jamar Chase because of the relationship between him and Joe Burrow, and the Bengals are stupid. So I think that's the dumbest move for them. So I could see them taking Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts, which is stupid because I want Kyle Pitts, which probably would be a great move for them. If you paired up Joe Burrow with Kyle Pitts, you could really start cooking with gas in that offense. But the smart move, of course, Penei Sewell. So one of those 3, I think, will be a Bengal. But then that means at the very least, 1 pick after, the Dolphins are going to get their hands on at least one of those guys. So with that in mind, I feel like this move was a no-brainer. And frankly, it could really help propel the Dolphins even further for a much longer time. And that is an amazing, low-key, orgasmic thought. Now, before I let you guys go enjoy your weekend, are there any negatives to this? And personally, the only thing I could really scratch my brain and come up with is that the Dolphins could have waited until closer to the draft to actually ensure that they got maximum value. What if a team loses their guy to injury in the next month? It's unlikely, but possible. Or a team begins to really show their desperation, a team that we don't even realize right now is, hiding behind the weeds, Patriots, and desperately want a quarterback to improve. So maybe instead of getting, 2 1s and a third-round pick from San Francisco, if the Dolphins waited till draft night and sort of built up, the stakes and talked to teams and sort of built up, the energy behind that trade market, then maybe, the competition would have had another second-round pick thrown in there. Maybe, a second and a third. Who knows? But maybe as that competition heated up, the Dolphins could have, played teams against each other and gotten more. But inversely, the market could also cool down by then. So it's a risk. Yes, Miami could have capitalized more than they did, but again, they also could have not ended up getting this deal if those same teams that, started to look elsewhere. So you never really actually know. So as much as I'm just trying to kind of point out a negative, some of you may feel like the Dolphins should have waited a little more and had this deal in place. But I think the reason that the Dolphins decided to pull the trigger now is because of the teams involved. This isn't a one-team trade, one-to-one team type of trade where you two can discuss, hang up the phone, call each other back, discuss. There's a lot more moving pieces here. They used the assets acquired from the Niners to then deal with the Eagles. So you knew, considering how fast those moves were made in succession, that was all part of one deal. And you know that the Eagles probably were talking to San Francisco too. So this was a kind of a 3-team trade that we saw. So the Dolphins only had tentative agreements for that small period of time. When I say small period of time, a matter of days, but in the NFL, so much can change. So Grier felt like he could not get something better come draft night, and I'm not going to be the one to disagree. Like, listen, Miami had the 3rd pick, right? Grier probably sat there after a bunch of evaluating, and we're going to start getting into that and see these players now at 6 who potentially could be good fits. And the list doesn't change much, which is exactly the point here. The list pretty much stays the same. He sat there and said, these are certain players that I want. These are guys that I want, and I know if I fall behind this threshold, I might really lose my shot at getting them. So that does, at the very least, there's someone here, or at least a couple guys, that Miami really wants. And whoever they're going to take was that guy, because they were not comfortable going down and just sitting at 12. They felt like they had to go back up, give up a first-round pick to move up to 6. So that means there's a skill player guy in there that they love. Please be Kyle Pitts. Oh, God, please be Kyle Pitts. But that's sort of kind of the mindset. There's clearly someone specific, so they had to go back to 6. And they felt, look, we on draft night will not be able to trade from, we're not going to be able to control where we fall down to. Right now, we have that control. We can say, we're going to work with you, Philly, and go to 6. Or, we're going to work with you, Carolina, and go to 8. There's still that control. Come draft night, it's mayhem. You don't know what's going to happen, who trades up, who trades down. You don't know if there's even going to be a trade market. I mean, we got Tua fall to us at 5 last year, so you never know what's going to happen. So just to be safe and be like, look, I know this is the guy I'm going to take. So if I don't trade out of 3, this is who I take. I also know I can get him at 6 based on the board, based on, what I'm hearing from the league, just based on the other players available. I know I can get him at 6 too. So right now I have an opportunity to just move back a couple and add significant capital that might not come again. I'm going to do it. Because think about this, maybe I'm wrong and there isn't someone that the Dolphins have their eyes on. Then maybe they trade out again. Maybe now they're at 6. Maybe one of those quarterbacks falls into striking range. Maybe a Trey Lance falls to 6. Mac Jones gets more buzz. 6 is viable considering that there's 3-4 quarterbacks and maybe, the Bengals take that they really want Penei Sewell. Who knows? But the Dolphins still have options. That's kind of the glorious part here is, yeah, we can think that the fact that they went from 12 to 6 must mean that they have a target, but it could just mean that they felt that position was more valuable to be in for not only who the guy they could take, but potentially for trade, options that might, reveal themselves come draft night. So far, so great, Chris Grier. He managed to take a gas mask bong, land a Pro Bowl tackle out of it, get some use for him. I mean, not that we did much with him because our team sucked at the time, but we got some use from him, and then proceeded to flip him. Didn't have to pay him that second contract, and got an array of picks, which has put this rebuild into hyperdrive. Being a Dolphins fan right now is a ton of fun.
Because I actually fell out of my chair. I had to get up real quick because this is crazy. We're in crazy town. So, look, I just mentioned that maybe the Dolphins will trade down because Bill Belichick coaching trade and all that. They traded back up. So they went from 2 to 3 to 12 to 6. I suppose you could still be in the market for Jamar Chase at 6 if you're concerned about a team between 6 and 12 making the move there. And now it's like, oh, they're all in on Tua. Are they thinking about a quarterback there? This is fantastic. This is what makes the draft so much fun. And we haven't seen a lot of big-time moves, especially in the span of 30 minutes in such a long time. But this is incredible. And I'm glad you blew my mind on television. That was fun, too. But I do think Jamar Chase is still in the mix. Maybe an offensive lineman if they want one there at 6.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. That's going to do it for us here today. Hope you enjoyed this little extra episode. Yeah, we produce Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but we're not held to that. Listen, the Dolphins are flexible, so are we. If they're going to make a crazy move, we're going to make a crazy show on a Friday afternoon. If you want more of the PhinsPod, please check out the Patreon, patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you guys so much for the support. And please remember to like the video if you've been watching on YouTube and enjoy the show, and subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. And remember that the PhinsPod's available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram, as well as TikTok now at PhinsPod, and check out the site for news and content, phinspod.com. Oh my God, I am excited, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe the Dolphins are about to do something else, but I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I'll see you guys Monday. Love y'all.